Hey, welcome to today's episode of the Uplink. I hope you all enjoyed that theme song. Like I said in the chat, that was written by actually one of our Uplink listeners a couple weeks ago. I asked for a theme song and he delivered, so that was awesome. Thank you, Paul Glover. So we're here today. Very cool episode. We're going to talk about the new Helium console, Microsoft Azure IoT Hub integration. And I've got Yannick here from an IoT expert from Microsoft here to talk about the integration, a little bit more about Azure. My name's Jacob Swin. Almost forgot to say that part. I'm the product marketing manager here at Helium. And with that, we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. And here we go. So a quick agenda. I'll talk about Helium for a few minutes, talk about how Helium and Microsoft kind of started working together and how this integration came to be. I will do a basic walkthrough of kind of just how to set up flows in Console 2.0, and that will lead into what Yannick's going to talk about. And then I will hand the keys over to Yannick, and he's going to drive for a little while and talk about Azure IoT Hub, the integration, and some other stuff that's probably too technical for me to talk about right now. So I'll leave that to Yannick. And then we'll do some Q&A at the end. If you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to drop them in the chat. And since Yannick's by himself, we'll probably save those for the end rather than try to answer them during the webinar itself. Okay, Helium, founded in 2013 with a mission to make it easier to build decentralized wireless networks. And we've been able to do that. We've been very successful, and it's been a lot of fun to watch and to be a part of this. And we've been able to do this by being lucky enough to be backed by some of the very best VC firms in the world to make this a reality. And you can see some of them listed below there. And like always, I just want to say we're extremely grateful to all of these VC firms, and it's been a huge help, and it's been a lot, like I said, a lot of fun to watch the growth. So Helium itself is an incentive built network, so anyone, anywhere can be rewarded for creating wireless coverage. Hosts earn HNT for both creating coverage and when devices use their hotspot to connect to the internet. So the network usage as well as coverage, so both sides to that. And all of that allows an affordable nationwide, actually worldwide, I should update that, wireless network to be rapidly built. And that's what's happening right now. So the Helium network is the largest public IoT network in the world. Accelerated coverage, I did update this today, so I don't have to say like, whoa, I should update this, but we're at 218,000 plus hotspots right now in over 19,000 cities in 136 countries across the globe. More and more hotspots coming online each day. You can check that on Helium Explorer actually, and watch the growth in real time. We have well over 400,000 hotspots just on order and still coming online. We have an extremely diverse ecosystem, both of customers and solution providers and hardware makers. I'll talk about those in just a second. Extremely low cost to use the Helium network, which is a really big benefit for us. Less than $1 per sensor per year for any device sending data every 5 minutes. And then it's just extremely accessible. It's really easy to use the network and start using it. You can pretty much any off-the-shelf LoRaWAN, compatible off-the-shelf LoRaWAN sensor can be put on the network, and you can start using it today. So you can check all that stuff out. Just go to helium.com, look at the website, find more information there. Like I said, check out Helium Explorer as well to look at like hotspot growth and things like that. Like I mentioned, we have a diverse ecosystem of hardware makers. These have been approved by the community through HIP 19. And again, more and more of these hardware makers are coming on board and being approved or submitting applications. So some of them that you just see here, we have Rack, Bobcat, Synchrorbit, Nebra, an OG hotspot, just like is on the building right behind me right there. Yeah, but very exciting to have more and more hardware makers coming on board. Additionally, like I talked about, users, these are network users. That's what a lot of these Uplink episodes are. We introduce new users, let them, kind of talk about what they're doing, how they're using the Helium network to provide solutions. So again, these are being added to, this list is being added to all the time. Just some of them here that we've had on the Uplink recently, like Barnacle, Abbey Way, Erica, Infisense, Nowie, all kinds of different solutions. So really neat to see all the different things that people come up with and use the Helium network for and provide solutions for. So you can also check out our ecosystem page and just look at all the different people using the network and the different companies using the network. Additionally, and again, I'm going to do a quick, this is basically what the Uplink is about today, but Helium Console 2.0 was launched in July, and just a way to make it easier and more user-friendly for, and provide a few more capabilities for console users. So especially the Flows workspace makes it very simple to kind of set up your devices, set up functions, integrations, get the data flowing from devices to endpoints. You can get started using it, console.helium.com. And again, we will talk a little bit more about console as we go through this webinar. And then if you haven't been connected or joined the movement with Helium yet, do that at helium.com. You can see my email down the left-hand side, jacob@helium.com, along with Mark Phillips, our Vice President of BizDev. Yeah, shoot me any questions you have. If I can't answer them, I will direct you to the right people. Find us on GitHub, on Twitter, and on Discord. And I believe we hit 100,000 Discord members a week or so ago. So that's really cool to see that community grow. There's a lot of good resources, a lot of great conversations. If you have questions, that's one of the best places to go. A lot of very smart people in our Discord community who can help you out. So like I said, we are here with Yannick from Microsoft, and we're talking about the Microsoft Azure IoT Hub integration. So just a little background on how this all came about. So Helium is actually a 2017 alumni of the Microsoft Startup Program. So that's really cool. And since then, we've worked with various Microsoft users and partners on the Helium network to provide solutions like I've talked about. And then in early 2021, Microsoft and Helium just began talking and having discussions about working on an integration so that console users and Azure users could send device IoT data from console to Azure safely, securely, quickly. And from there, we've worked on for a couple months now closely with Yannick and his team to build that integration and get that set up. So we're super excited to have that available and to talk about that with you today. So let me switch over real fast to console. So if you, I assume most people on this call have used console, but if not, I just want to show you quickly how to set up basically what's called a flow in the Flows workspace here. And then that will kind of lead us into what Yannick's going to talk about. So as you can see here on this workspace, we have our devices, which are gray, our functions or decoders, which are, I guess that's purple, you can call it, and the integrations, which are kind of a, well, we'll say green here. So on the Flows page, there's a menu right here. If you go to devices, you can just add a new device right here. That will show up in your devices list. All right, I already have this Disco 32.2. If you would like to add a function or a decoder to decode your data before it gets to the endpoint, you can add that here, add a new function just on the plus sign right here, and then integration where you'll find the Azure IoT Hub integration right here. So if you just do plus, add integration, you can choose Azure IoT Hub right there. And so once we have those created, up in the nodes section on the Flows page, you'll see devices. I have that Disco 32.2, so I would just drag it down onto my Flows space. Functions, same thing, you can just drag that down, and integration as well, just drag it down. Once they are down onto the Flows workspace, you see these little lines between them. These are called edges, and basically that's just showing that data is flowing from device to the decoder, from the decoder, the function, the data is flowing to that integration. So if you want to change that, let's say I want the device, I can remove that edge, and I want the device to send data to this integration up here that I have. You can just draw that edge from that to that. So very simple there. And that just, again, shows that data is flowing. So I'm going to draw that back. And again, once you're on the device itself, So Disco 32.2. If I scroll down on there, you can see there's a flow section under the actual device. If I click on that device, it shows it's going through that function and then through that integration as well. And then you can see live data here and show real-time packets being sent. If you have any questions, I know this isn't super in-depth because I want to give Yannick enough time to talk a little bit more in-depth and some technical details about the integration, but be sure to check out our docs pages that really describe all of this stuff, how to add devices, what are functions, how to add functions, integrations, things like that. We have those docs pages as well as some like tips and tricks videos of how to get this stuff set up. That's on our YouTube playlist. So you can check those out as well. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to Yannick. And Yannick, you can take it away.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Let me quickly share my screen. All right. You can see my screen, right? Jacob, can you quickly?
Now
it should
looks
work.
like it's coming. Yep, there we go.
Okay, perfect. Let me go to full screen mode. And yeah, hello, everybody. Super excited to be here in this Uplink webinar. My name is Yannick. I'm actually cloud solution architect in Microsoft, based in Switzerland. So for me, it's a bit later than for my colleagues in the US. But nevertheless, it's great to be in this session. And yeah, my let's say task in Microsoft is actually to support customers implementing their workloads in the Azure cloud. And I have a super strong focus on IoT. So I'm basically helping them implementing their IoT use cases in the cloud. And from time to time, I get the chance to work with these exciting startups like Helium and make such integration happen. And yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this today. But before we deep dive into the actual IoT part, I wanted to show you basically a whole overview what's available in Azure, like our cloud. And many people, if they think about cloud, they just think, okay, virtualized servers running in the cloud in a huge data center. And like for us at Microsoft, this is just like a very little part down in the left, because we are focusing on actually implementing and standardizing services in the cloud, which makes it super easy for you to actually implement your use cases and workloads in the Azure cloud. So we have standardized services which take over like workloads or tasks that you need to do. And without writing any code, you can just configure it, use them in the cloud as a standardized service. And one part that is also shown in here is this whole analytics and IoT area. And we got a whole lot of services around IoT, first of all, ingesting data, consuming data, storing it, and enriching the data, but then also make use of this data. We got a super rich library of machine learning algorithms. We got intelligence services like cognitive services where you get AI services in the cloud as a service. And yeah, we are spending billions of dollars to further improve these services and make new services available to you, as I said, to make it as easy as possible for you to implement your workloads based on standardized services. But I actually don't want to bore you with like PowerPoint slides, because I implemented a little architecture for you to display, first of all, the super nice integration that was done by Helium and how it interacts with our Azure IoT Hub. But I also want to show you a bit the power of the Azure cloud and how well the components are actually integrated with each other, and how easy it is to actually achieve, let's say, a quick win and quick results. So what we see in here is obviously the Helium part, and I even got a nice LoRaWAN device with me today. I hope it can be shown in the camera without my virtual background. It's this Tactilic home sensor, actually quite simple device. It just records or measures humidity, temperature, And yeah, there is also a read sensor included. And I have connected it to the Helium network to my console, and that will also be the first part that I'm going to show in this live demo. And then we will dig into the single Azure components. So we got the Azure IoT Hub, which is basically the main entrance for IoT data. So all the data will be streamed into the IoT Hub, and from the IoT Hub itself, it can be integrated via Stream Analytics, a streaming tool which allows us to do analytics of on top of the incoming data and redirect the data to sources that we will define. And then I integrated, or I'm sending this data to Power BI, our, let's say, business intelligence tool, but it's also super useful to visualize sensor data and do actual analytics on top of it. Then I integrated a standard SQL server just to show how easy it is to actually store the data in a relational database. And then I also have created a storage account, which is, let's say, a cold storage in the cloud, which just allows me to save data for a long term for a very cheap price. Okay, but before we actually are heading to Azure, let me show you how this integration actually works in the Helium console. And for this, I'm going to end the full screen mode. Okay, and spin up the Helium console. Here we go. Okay, and as Jacob has shown before, right? I got my device. It's well connected. It's sending data. I can see the packets in here. It should basically send packets every 5 minutes. That's how I configured my sensor. And then the more exciting part happens here in the flows. Because I can see I got my Tactilic sensor configured as a node, and it's connected with a custom decoder, which allows me to basically do the decoding of the LoRaWAN packets directly in this flow. And that's a super nice functionality because it allows me to directly start working with the sensor data in a decoded form. So we can quickly check this decoder. And it's, yeah, I just copied it basically from your decoder library, which is another nice thing. So you don't have to write this whole JavaScript code yourself. And this will turn this byte string that is sent from the sensor over the LoRaWAN network into actual, like, human readable sensor information. And we will see this in a second, how this sensor information actually looks like. So, and after this part is done, we are heading to the IoT Hub integration. And as Jacob mentioned before, we have now this standard integration, which makes it super easy to actually connect an Azure IoT Hub instance. And I will show you in a second how this is actually done. So now that we have covered basically the Helium side, so my sensor is connected, my sensor data is decoded, and it's forwarded to my IoT Hub, I will switch to the Azure side. And this is shown in here. So for everyone who hasn't seen the Azure portal before, this is basically the main view. It shows to me that the number of components that has been created in my Azure subscription, so in my space that is reserved for me in Azure. And these are the different components I've created. So you can already see in here, we have the Azure IoT Hub, we have a SQL database, we have the Stream Analytics job, and so on. This is basically the complete overview of all the components I have created in here. And yeah, if I would like to create another service, I can just quickly hit the create button, and you will see all the different services that are available in Azure. And are, like, as I said, as I shown before in the map, there are tons of different services that can be used in here. But I already pre-prepared the setup for you. So we got this Azure IoT Hub, which is the, let's say, the main ingestion point for IoT data. And like, to make the integration happen, I only need a few details in here. So I need to take the IoT Hub name, which is mentioned here, or it's mentioned in the connection string. I need to copy this over, put this into the IoT Hub name. And then I need to create a policy for authentication for security. to make sure that the integration can, or the connection can be established. And even more importantly, that devices from Helium can be registered in the IoT hub. Because in the IoT hub itself, every device needs to have its own identity, like for security and management reasons. And I will show you in a second what that actually means. But to create this so-called shared access policy, I just have to basically open up this, this dashboard. I can see here the different policies that are pre-created. And I, for myself, I have created an extra policy for Helium with the right permissions. And then in here, I basically just need to take the name of the policy. It's Helium, and I need to also take the primary key, which I won't show now because otherwise somebody could take over my integration, so it will stay hidden in here. Okay, and then I just need to take this over. Oh, it's actually visible in the console, but no worries at all. Okay, and this is all I need to do for the integration. And once this is updated, the integration itself will make sure that all the devices that are registered in my console are registered in my IoT hub as well. And this is a super nice feature because I don't need to take care about like this management and the registration of the IoT devices myself. So if I check the IoT devices registered in my IoT hub, I will see that I have basically one device created, and this was done by the Helium integration. And I can check this out. So I got my own device twin, as it is called in here. I got the chance to send back messages to a device, and this is quite cool if I want to send downlink messages to a device. So I can do this via the portal, but I can also do this obviously via REST API or trigger it via other Azure integrations that are available. But we can quickly test this. So if I choose message to device, I can add a JSON body, and let's see, I think I have one prepared here. Oh yeah, here we go. So let's take this. Okay. And with this payload, I will basically trigger a downlink message from my IoT hub via Helium to my device. And I can now send this message. Okay. It's sent from the IoT hub. And now if I check the console, I should also see in my device in here, it should actually show my my downlink message. And now I was quite unlucky because the downlink was already sent just right at this minute. Let's trigger it again, send it. Let's now it's here. So even through the portal, I can send downlink messages to a device. And yeah, as I mentioned before, I can also very easily use this via integrations with other services within Azure. Okay, so, and after this integration actually has happened, I got my data available in the Azure cloud for the use with many different services. And I can show you actually how the data looks like when it arrives at my IoT hub, because I can connect to these so-called inbuilt endpoints, which means how the data can be consumed from this IoT hub. And I have my Visual Studio Code instance here, which I just use to monitor my IoT hub. So you can see on the left side, this is my IoT hub. I'm connected and I'm seeing like all this data which is streamed in into my IoT hub and which can be displayed. Let me scroll right to the bottom. Yeah, so this is basically what was received by the IoT hub and what is ready for further integration. So you can see, okay, I got the app UI, I also got the dev UI, and then all this nice sensor information, sensor data, which was decoded by my decoder in the Helium console. So I got humidity and I got temperature as well. Good. So now that we have integrated this data into Azure Cloud, we can actually start with the more exciting stuff, let's call it this way. So we have done this part. Let's switch to the next slide. And I want to actually show you this Stream Analytics component. And Stream Analytics does, yeah, exactly what the name says. It allows me to analyze and basically redirect every JSON message that was sent to the IoT hub and then sent to Stream Analytics. I'm able to do some analysis on top of this and then direct it to a different output to a different consumer. And when we are checking this in the Azure console, it looks like this. Let me go back to the portal and then you see, okay, we got this Stream Analytics component. And in here, it's actually quite straightforward because I just have to define my inputs. So I got my input from the IoT hub. So basically all the data that is streamed into the IoT hub will be forwarded to my Stream Analytics component. And I need to define my outputs, so where I want to redirect my data to. So I got Power BI, I got the SQL database, and I got my Azure Blob Storage. And then I need to define a query on top of this. And this reminds a bit of a SQL query, if you have worked with SQL before, but it basically just asks me to select data, define from where I want to select the data, and then where to send it to. And the first one is actually super straightforward because it just says, okay, take everything from the IoT hub and move it into my storage account. And this is actually exactly what happens for every incoming message. This will be executed. And this means that like every incoming message will be stored in my storage account. And I quickly want to show this to you, how this looks like when I access a storage account. It's basically a file storage or a container storage in the cloud, which allows me to store any kind of data that I want. And I'm just using it to stream all the data that was received from the IoT hub and just saving there. And that's super useful as a, let's say, long-term data storage, because it's super cheap. I think a gigabyte costs a few cents, and I can just leave it there forever. And maybe at the future, I have a use case which requires basically all the data that have ever been created, and then I can just pull it from here. So let me quickly show you how this looks like. I got my Helium data, and this was all created by Stream Analytics. So I didn't do any manual work here. I have the date time as folder structure, and then you can see when I started the job and what all the data that has been sent. And it's stored as JSON. And if I open up this JSON file, let me quickly download it from my cloud storage so we can check it locally. It's, yeah, not too fancy because it's just like all the JSONs that have been sent from the sensor over the console to my, just 1 second to format this properly. Convert, no. Yeah, anyway, I mean, you get the concept. It's basically just all the data stored as JSON in here in the storage account. And now it's available for like further consumption, or I just want to historize my data in here. As I said, that's not too exciting. We will get to the more exciting stuff right afterwards. Because the next integration I want to show you is the integration into a SQL database, which is also like super straightforward, but because the SQL database has a schema defined and can't work that well with JSON data, we need to define what kind of fields we want to take from my incoming JSON document. And the nice thing is, like, Stream Analytics already provides me, let's say, a sample of data that was ingested, and I can basically use this as a schema to check what kind of data I want to pull. So in here you can see, okay, I got the field of device EOE that's pulled. I got the payload, and I can use this dot annotation to actually access the fields in the JSON. And from the JSON, I want to pull battery voltage, humidity, and temperature. And then I got also a timestamp so that I know when the data was actually sent. And now this will just be sent. Every document that arrives will be sent in this format to my SQL database. And this, if I pull up my SQL Management Studio, you can see I'm connected to this SQL database that has been created. I got my table and I can now quickly do a query on top of it, just select the top 100 rows, and I will see that my Stream Analytics job has been nicely ingesting my data into this SQL database. And again, now I basically have all the options that SQL provides to make use of this data. All right. Now, the last part will be an actual integration with a visualization tool. And with Power BI, we are providing our own, let's say, business intelligence application. And I can directly stream with Stream Analytics, I can directly stream data into Power BI and this business intelligence application and visualize it there. And that's a quite nice feature because it allows me to get super quickly an overview of the incoming data, get a first impression, and just like see what kind of values I'm getting from these sensors. And I have prepared, let's say, a little dashboard here. So I switch over to Power BI, which is, I think, part of Office 365. So it's quite easy to get access to Power BI as a visualization tool. So, and this is basically a dashboard that I have created like in 5 minutes. So I didn't invest too much love, but I think it, yeah, it shows the concept. So I have the temperature from my sensor visualized in a nice diagram. I'm visualizing the battery voltage, and I actually want now to create together with you a quick diagram just to show the curve for my humidity. So, and to achieve this, I basically just have to pick the diagram I want to use. I just will take the line chart. I will get the empty line chart or basically this template down here. And the only thing to visualize this data is that I need to pull in the humidity and I need to pull in the timestamp as an axis. And now the humidity is basically shown in my dashboard as well. Super easy. And yeah, obviously with the time we got, we can only scratch on the surface, but already this Power BI online service gives me quite some flexibility to visualize this data. I also have just created a quick table view in here. So just like all the incoming data in a table. But yeah, I can definitely do much more sophisticated stuff in here. Just one little example. I can do I can apply a function to the color of this battery voltage gauge. So if I go to data color and then for the fill, I have actually defined a function. So it just will check basically, yeah, the level or the value we get for the battery voltage, and then it will apply a color between the minimum and the maximum. Just as a super quick example how to actually work with Power BI. And this is now like to get new data in this data set, I actually need to refresh it, but I can also create dashboards which are automatically refreshed. So I get kind of a live data view there. And what's also super nice is that I have my mobile app. I can just download Android or iPhone app and then download the Power BI dashboard down there, and then I have also the same dashboard basically in a mobile app view. Yeah, so this was a super high level overview of this yeah, basically architecture I have created. And it literally didn't took me more than, let's say, half an hour to create all these components and integrate them. And this is what I think really makes us stand out when it comes to the to providing cloud services is the integration of these different components. So all of the components I've shown are super well integrated, and it's very easy to connect or to create this data flow from IoT Hub via Stream Analytics to Power BI, SQL Server, and the storage account. So now, how do you get started? I hope you got some, how you say, itchy fingers so that you want to try that yourself. And you can just create basically a free account on Azure. We got like quite a lot of services that are in general for free. So you don't have to pay anything. And you will even get like $200 of free Azure credits to work with paid services, but that might not even be necessary for, like, let's say, smaller workloads. All right, and thus this just leaves me with the Q&A part. And yeah, just if you have any questions or need support when setting up your architecture or want to discuss a use case with me, just drop me an email or add me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to connect and yeah, just speak to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Yannick. Appreciate it. Just a reminder, this video will go up on our YouTube playlist within the next 24 hours. So I did have a few people ask me if they'll be able to rewatch this. And yes, you will be. So I had a couple questions come out of the chat here, and I don't know if anyone else has some questions, but Mark had a few. He asked, are the keys created ad hoc? And if so, how are they loaded into the device? Or is that a device onboarding action dependent on the device itself?
Do you want me to answer, Jacob? Because
yeah,
it's more
I think these are probably better for you. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. So like this is kind of a standard LoRaWAN process. So when you buy a device, these come preloaded or pre-configured with the keys. And then it's typically up to the vendor to provide these keys to you. And then like when provisioning a device to the Helium console, they will ask you for these keys, which are preloaded in the device and that have been provided by the vendor of the device. I don't know if you quickly want to show this in the console.
I closed my console thing, but yes, it's in console when you when you add a device in there, and then that's also spelled out a little bit in more detail in our docs too on the quick start, just on adding devices and things like that, like where you find those keys. Yep. Yes. Mark had one more. He said, can math functions be done? Like if he wants the temp and humidity within a high range together to turn on a fan, he needs a function like that compares temperature, and things like that. Can that be done?
Absolutely, absolutely. So in Stream Analytics, in the component I've shown before, like where I was just using it for basically integrating my data into different sources, you definitely have the option to do more sophisticated analysis. And you can even call, let's say, external JavaScript functions if the available functions within Stream Analytics aren't sufficient for this analysis you want to do. So definitely, yes.
Awesome. Yannick, I had a question for you, and this is pretty general, but could you talk a little bit just about like what brought Microsoft kind of to the Helium network? Like, why did you choose the Helium network to build this integration with, what's kind of stood out about Helium?
Sure. No, like in general, in Microsoft, we are pretty forward on the pretty focused on the whole cloud part and how to consume the data, how to like compute it, how to store it, and how to analyze it. But we don't have any offerings when it comes to how to actually generate this data. And yeah, with the service that Helium provides and your worldwide IoT network and the potential it gives also our customers to leverage this worldwide IoT network for their LoRaWAN use cases, yeah, this makes it super exciting for us as well.
Awesome. And are there any things, with Helium that you're excited about that you've seen? I mean, are there any things coming up? I don't know if how much of it you're following or things we're doing, but
Actually, I've been using the network myself for
yeah.
like a hackathon. Where we were pushing, or the goal was to push biodiversity in cities. And we were actually using the Helium network to plant like sensors in biodiversity measures like all over the city of Zurich. And we were measuring if like bird nesting boxes are occupied, and like hedgehog boxes, if there is some movement in there, and just like the whole concept of not caring about if there is connectivity available makes it just great to use technology.
Awesome. Great to hear. If you ever need a Helium representative to come out to Switzerland and look at things for you, let me know. I'm your man for that. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? That's not very many questions in the chat today. I'm surprised. If you have any last minute questions you want to ask Yannick, drop them in the chat right now. I'm going to pull up this next slide just to have contact info for me, where to find us at Helium while people are coming up with any last minute questions. But yeah, Yannick, while people are thinking about that, I just want to say I really appreciate you coming on. I know it's late where you're at, so appreciate you staying up.
No worries. And I'm super excited to see all the upcoming use cases, because I'm sure we are just like scratching on the top when it comes to the actual possibilities. I think people have been super focused on just putting up the network and get some Helium coins, right? But now it's actually time to make use of this great network that has been created.
Absolutely. Oh, McKenna just sent me a question somebody had. What data can you see from consumers using the networks you provide with the miners? I don't know about that one. I don't know if that's a question that's necessarily going to be answered here. Okay. With that, yeah, the data is encrypted. Okay. Yannick, yeah, I agree with you what you just said, though. It's really cool to see, like you said, the more use cases coming on, the more solutions happening, with more people starting to use the network and come up with really creative ideas and things that other people aren't thinking of, and solutions. And it's awesome. It's exciting to see. Okay, I will let you get to bed, Yannick. Late over there.
It's
So
not too late yet.
it.
Come on.
I don't know. It's late for me. So yeah. Thank you everyone for coming. Again, this will be available on our YouTube channel within the next 24 hours. McKenna did put the link in the chat, but you can check out just Helium YouTube, and this will be up if you want to rewatch and watch Yannick's demonstrations and things like that. Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Yannick. Yep. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.